When you know that you call 911, it's like you're calling the Church of Scientology, and think of how scary that is. Hey guys, and welcome back to Mangotology. If you're new here, let me introduce myself to you. My name is Steven Mango, and I'm an ex-Scientologist that works here on YouTube to expose Scientology. So if you want to stay up to date on all my videos, please make sure to go down below, hit that red subscribe button, and turn on your bell notifications, and you'll get an alert whenever I release a new video exposing Scientology. I also posted a new video yesterday titled Leah Remini Wants to Sue the Church of Scientology, so if you haven't seen it already, go down below on my channel and you can catch up right after you watch this video. So today we are going to be talking about the LAPD, aka Los Angeles Police Department, and their cover-ups regarding the Church of Scientology and why they won't help ex-Scientologists. Now this has actually been my own personal experience on 2 occasions, but we're also going to be looking at multiple other instances today of others who've been wronged by the LAPD when trying to call on the LAPD for help or bring justice upon Scientology when a crime has been involved. Now, first off, we're going to be looking at 2 of my personal experiences with the LAPD when it comes to Scientology, as well as looking at multiple others who have tried to call upon the LAPD when they've needed help against Scientology, why Scientology is in bed with the cult, and how they even infiltrated the LAPD with kiosk panels advertising Scientology within the Wilcox Avenue police station. Here you can see the inside of LAPD's Wilcox Ave station, where Scientology actually placed their informational panels inside the police department. Now within 2 days these actually got removed because others complained that there was obviously a religious informational display inside the police station. So I actually hinted about doing this video yesterday, and it's made me very upset since when I've been thinking about this topic, just because, as we know, what is their job? To protect their citizens. And think of how scary it is, guys. I don't know if you've ever had any experiences with contacting the police when you've needed help. What pretty much probably happened, I would think, in most other cities, or just in general. I'm sure, unless you've also experienced some mistreatment by the police, I've assumed they would respond to your call and do the proper thing, not based off of religious preferences, not based off of who's paying a bigger check, you versus the person who perpetrated the crime to begin with. So you would think that the police would have your best interests at heart. And you would think that with our taxpayer dollars, and just given that the oath that these police officers take, that they would protect the citizens. Now, I've had 2 separate instances where I was almost flabbergasted on both instances that the police provided absolutely no assistance to me. And the very first time, which I will link the article down below, I was assaulted outside of Scientology's testing center in Hollywood, right on Hollywood Boulevard, on the Walk of Stars, or the Walk of Fame rather, and I was outside protesting. Now, I have learned my lesson with protesting, that you never want to protest alone. I don't think that's something to go without saying type of thing, but with any type of protesting, if you are making a passionate stand against anything, you don't want to be by yourself. Now this goes specifically to say with Scientology, which is known to have fair game policies where they can sue, slander, attack, lie, do anything to the ex-Scientologist in order to protect the name and image of Scientology. They want to destroy their critics at all costs. That is actual policy by L. Ron Hubbard. So if you are out protesting peacefully, say for example when I was out with Nasty Nathaniel, you guys saw on my channel, we did a protesting video probably like a month or 2 ago, I would say now, and we went out just taking a stroll after hanging out with each other. He had his camera, I had my cell phone, and within moments they were patrolling our every single step, and they ultimately got flashlights and they were flashing them right into the camera lens and into our faces, and they got aggressive with us just being very peaceful, walking down the street, no signs, nothing. Now that was 2 months ago. Again, the police didn't have to be called in that instance, But I don't think Scientology is too fearful because they know they have the LAPD in their back pocket. And they have, over the years, proven whether they're on stage holding $20,000 checks at Celebrity Center. Here we can see the police officers on stage receiving a check from Scientology during their Celebrity Center Christmas story play. They do and will work with Scientology, and they trade information back and forth, which we're also going to be getting into a little bit later into the video, how they actually communicate with each other to fair game critics and people who are trying to use police assistance against Scientology. Also, when I was Googling some different instances to talk about today, I came across this article from Tony Ortega's blog, and I believe it was from around 2 years ago. Again, it was Nasty Nathaniel, and he was out there with his camera. He's a First Amendment auditor, guys, if you don't know who he is. He's here on YouTube, and he was filming a police officer, and basically the officer was saying, whatever happens behind those gates is up to them, right? And he doesn't care. Or he was using some sort of phraseology, if you will, about whatever happens behind those gates, like, let them do it.
I'm actually very grateful that they're here for a lot of reasons. Whatever they want to do behind the gates, that's not my business.
And that's really scary, given that we know about the whole. We know about Scientology's treatment towards others in terms of human trafficking, imprisoning people, abusing them, physically assaulting others. And it goes much, much deeper than that, as well as with Danny Masterson. And there's a lot of cover-ups, which we're getting to. But first, my assault. So I was outside protesting at the testing center. I believe at this point in time, I had two friends who, I'm not sure if it was the same day, I believe it was. They ultimately left when we were on Hollywood Boulevard. One of our friends was like a tourist at the time, maybe been to Hollywood a couple times, but we still went out with this person to Hollywood Boulevard, which isn't really where like the locals would hang out, but it's just, again, the touristy thing you would do. So she wanted to see the testing center. We walked by, and I think I might have had my protesting sign in my car. So I got my protesting sign, and it was "To My Loved One in Scientology, Call Me," which was the Phil and Willie Jones billboard that was being used to protest against disconnection and breaking apart families. And they didn't see their adult son. We're actually going to be talking about Phil and Willie Jones in a few moments here. And I was holding my sign when one of the Sea Org staff members actually was coming around the corner like this, bringing in a new public. So again, they have all of their recruiters out on the street, and their recruiters speak multiple languages. So it's not just like they're speaking English. They'll see tourists, again, coming to Hollywood, and they'll have people talking Chinese, Spanish, French. Like, all of a sudden, the recruiters are speaking like multiple languages, and I haven't seen that before, where they just start breaking out into like plain Chinese. It's like, why is that guy just like all of a sudden speaking Chinese to this clear person who has no idea about anything about Scientology, and they rope them in, come in to see a free movie, right? So they're doing all these different tricks. And I do want to go back on Hollywood Boulevard and show you guys like a couple years later how they're doing this, because I still drive by, I still see it's happening, and I do want to debunk this for tourists coming to Hollywood who might come across my YouTube channel and can steer clear of them and their families from getting roped into like a free movie or whatever they're doing. So one of the recruiters is coming around, and I end up getting karate chopped, I guess is the right word, I don't know what the word would be, but I guess like karate chopped into like my arm where I'm holding the protesting sign for the idea that I would maybe drop my sign or the person wouldn't see. Now this is supposed to be a religious worker who's signing a billionaire contract, just like how someone would become a nun or become a priest, whatever. Like, you would think that it's a spiritual journey that you're embarking on. And this person is trying to, instead of maybe thinking like, you know, bless the protester, they don't understand, even though I do, but you know, like that type of mentality, like pray for him. It's not that in Scientology. It's like we want to actually commit violence to attack our enemy, aka Steve Mango or whoever's protesting at the time, and commit a violent act in order to stop that person from protesting or bringing in new people. So if you're with this holy Sea Org worker, you would never think to ever refer to a Sea Org person as holy. It's like the last thing that you're going to think about is calling them holy, but bear with me, we're calling them holy. So, you know, if I was that girl walking in with this holy person, I'm like, he just hit that guy on the arm. Like, clearly this guy's protesting or has a problem with this organization, and here's their worker assaulting that guy, what's going to make me comfortable about going in there and sitting in a locked movie theater room? Like, does that really sound, like of a sound mind for like that girl or just a human in general? Anyways, so I got karate chopped. And then on another occasion, on the same protesting moment, I got body checked into the org, into the glass window. Here you can see the Hollywood Testing Center, and where I circled is the window where I was standing in front of where I was protesting when I got assaulted by the staff member. I was bruised on my arm. I did go to urgent care, I believe, to get treated for the bruising and the swelling that I endured on my arm from protesting. Now, when this happened, police actually came right around the building, the org, like on like the side of the street. I can't think of the name of the street off the top of my head, but they came around like an off street of Hollywood Boulevard. So they actually received a call on me, not the other way around. Like, can you believe that? Like, I was like, great. I thought the police officer was driving around and saw what happened or knew that I was in trouble, because when I went up to them, they almost looked at me like I was the crazy one. So they actually also called the police on me when they drove away, and they're like, good luck to you type of thing. I got the police called on me for standing in front of the door of the org when I was like walking back and forth. They were making it seem like I was blocking traffic or something of like incoming people. It's like, no one's walking in that org, like, let's be honest. So I ultimately decided to call the police myself because I was still like in shock of like what was going on. It made me more like, I want to protest even more. But then I'm like, you just got assaulted on the street. So I call up the police and they said, oh, okay, we'll come and respond. So I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting. So I eventually left thinking I'll drive to the police station myself. It's late at night, but that's my only option. They weren't, coming. So I get a call on my phone, and this is after saying I was physically assaulted and I need help and I need medical treatment. And instead of thinking like, oh, that would mean respond fast, I get a call about an hour and a half to 2 hours later, guys. So think about that. What if I was like bleeding out on the street, right? And if I said I was outside of a bar bleeding outside the street, I'm sure they would respond within 10 minutes, right? If I'm bleeding outside of Scientology, it's just like, oh, we don't want to deal with Scientology or whatever they believe. So the police actually came, and I drove back, right back to the org, because I said I identified the guy. I took photos, everything, and because initially he went back in the org, and I said I was going to call the police, and they wouldn't bring him back out, so he was hiding. But then later on, I saw him walking, like doing recruitment, so I took his photo. So there's no ifs, ands, or buts. It was him. And of course, there's security cameras, and it's again a public instance. So I start talking to the police officers. And I was talking, like one of them was young, if I remember, and I took photos of them. Again, it's on Tony Ortega's blog. And I was telling them all about I was a former member and peacefully protesting, holding a sign. Then I was, the two different assaults and different things that happened. And they're like, oh, it's a church and whatever. And they're starting to justify it. It's like, it doesn't matter if they're a church. Like, I don't understand, like, what difference does it make? Because I believe that they feel, or police in general, if you say something's happens at a church, they think, oh, like, you must be the crazy one. Do you have problems with your mental health? Like, are you the nutcase? Because a church is supposedly supposed to be the most ethical place that exists, right? You're doing spiritual activities. No one thinks that inside churches that there are these like horrific crimes that happen, which do happen. So I spoke to them for a while, and then they're like, okay, what do you want us to do? I said, arrest him, point blank. He committed a crime. I have, my injuries, I'm seeking medical help, and so on and so forth. So they said, okay, let's go in. So I'm watching them because I'm parked on the sidewalk and like the window of the orgs here, like the big windows, and they're like drawing down the blinds, but there's still one open. So they go in there, they talk to me maybe for like 5 or 10 minutes. Honestly, it wasn't like a very long time. And their mentality was, well, if when you were a member, and there were all these different things happening to you, like kind of like filling them in on what kind of happens, why don't you call the police then if you're being held against your will or there are financial crimes? I'm like, it's because we're brainwashed. Like, we're under mind control. We believe that if we speak to the police, then we're losing our spiritual eternity, like everything we ever have, our family, our friends, everyone's going to disconnect from us, and we're going to ultimately end up with nothing. And this is our beliefs. It's like a very coded system, and we're in this trap, and it's just like very hard to try to explain to people, because they think just call the cops. Like, why would you subject yourself to that? It's like, because it goes a lot more deeper than just like calling the police. Scientology has their own internal justice system. They have ethics, and they have their own court system. They don't deal with the outside law. So they go in, and I'm telling you, I was sitting outside of my car, again, injured for like 45 minutes, like an hour, maybe even an hour 15, if I'm remembering like exactly like the time, but it was like around that time frame. So they ultimately came out, and they were like, you know, we talked to him, and we have his ID, like you can take a photo of it, whatever. And he apologized. He said he was sorry, and have a great day type of thing. And I'm like, you saw the video, you saw the assault, you see my injuries, you know it was a violent act because I'm an ex-member, and they were doing it in order to intimidate me and to get me to leave. And I do feel that I was in danger, and that's why I'm calling the police. And you think that just because he says sorry, like, does that work? Like, if I abused my husband and punched him in the face, if I said, oh, I said sorry to my husband, they would still put me in the back of a police car, right, if I punch him in the face. If it's Scientology and I get physically assaulted twice on the same day, it wasn't like it was an accident, it was clear two times in one day. Oh, he said he's sorry. Really? So they took down a report, but they didn't investigate, and they closed it down. So that was one instance. The second instance, which you guys know about, which happened last year, was we had our 2-year-old or 3-year-old, I believe he just turned like 3, dog, Phineas. Now, this was during a time I was speaking out very, very publicly. I was going on podcasts, radio shows, television. I was doing all sorts of different things just to speak out against Scientology. Magazine interviews, you guys know, like I contribute a lot of the times to tabloids and different people who want to like know about Scientology. So I was home with my dog, or both of my dogs rather, and we were outside in the backyard. Now, I don't really like to show my whole entire home, but there's a window I'm facing now, and my house, obviously, like you can like walk around the whole perimeter of my home, and then we have like front stairs and a black gate. But when you're over here or right here where I'm facing right now, you can't see over here at the front door, right? You can see like the cars and stuff, but it depends like on like the angle of the home. So one day I'll do a house tour, and I'll show you guys my house. But again, like I have to, you know, maintain privacy with the type of work that I do with this, and I don't want to show the whole exterior of my house, even though it was shown on television or in my Scientology movie on the BBC. But anyways, so this is, again, I start having cars parked taking photos that are Scientology private investigators that take photos outside of me at my house, or just try to sit outside. If I go to the grocery store, you know, I'll get some guy like tailing me to the store. And this is the same thing if I drive by Big Blue, I have them walkie-talking, and then all of a sudden I'll have a car following me, right? Because they think that I'm spying on them or making a video or whatever. So this was, again, and it comes and goes. I'm not followed every single day by PIs, but every so often when things are more heated in the media or I'm doing a lot of activism work, then yes, I do have people who do spy on me from the Church of Scientology or employed by Scientology or Scientologists. I have to make it very broadly known because, you know, it's a church can't follow you, but their parishioners, members, Sea Org members, whatever can. So the dogs, this is before I would keep them on a leash with me. Even in my own backyard that's gated, I now keep them on a leash. My 2 dogs now. But at the time, like, I'd let them go outside alone, right? And I would either like watch them, follow them, just make sure. For the most part, or I'll stand in the backyard and just kind of like watch them go out and come back in. So they ran to the door or to the gate because you can hear someone like coming up to the front gate. You know, you think it's just like Amazon or like a delivery or something like that. But again, no package, nothing. So I figured, again, later after the fact, like looking back at it, you know, when you're having people sitting outside your home, it has to be one of the PIs of Scientology or whoever it was. So I believe that, well, what happened was they started violently vomiting, both of them. First, Penelope, who's Drama Poodle on my other channel, is violently vomiting 20 times in one night, and then she's better like in a day or two. Then all of a sudden Phineas is lying on the couch like this, like looking like completely just like like sick or like just something's wrong with him. Then he starts the violent throw up, but then it's like foamy and it starts looking very alarming. So we took him to the animal emergency room when I thought initially like, oh, he'll be fine just like Penelope was. But his eyes started turning yellow and they said his bilirubin level was say like a 19 when it should be like a 2, and 2 is like high. And basically his liver was shutting down and his organs were all being affected. And the cause of that was some sort of poisoning, and they believe that, you know, he ingested a poison or poisonous substance. Now we think it could have been maybe like a treat, or it could have been like a piece of meat that was poisoned, but we contacted again the gardener. They don't use anything toxic. We have no toxic plants. We've had the whole entire property examined. There's no toxic plants. They sit in the house. They're house dogs. They're not out on the street like the regular roads. They're just in our backyard. They don't go off like just on hikes or something like that, right? So there was, again, the food, you know, they both were eating it, they ate it, or she ate it afterwards. Again, there was no poison in the food, nothing was recalled. Like I'm telling you guys, we checked everything. There was, again, no pills, you know, nothing was tested like that, but it was actually some type of maybe antifreeze or something like that. So when I went to Leah Remini, when I was telling Leah Remini about this, she advised me to go to the LAPD. She gave me a detective's name and everything like that. So she was checking in on me, and it was like really nice of Leah to know that, you know, I'm not crazy, that this is actually really happening, because this also happened to Chrissy Bixler, who is one of Danny Masterson's accusers, which we're going to be speaking about. And she also had her dog poisoned and killed by Scientology right around the same time, like within the same few months. So we know that, again, this is something that Scientology was doing, was poisoning dogs. I went to the LAPD right when I mentioned Scientology. Like first it was like, we're gonna take the report. Then it's like, oh, do you have any proof? Because I mentioned Scientology, and this is the same exact time when they're having the panels in the LAPD division. And, oh, well, do you have surveillance video? No, like, I don't have, like, surveillance cameras, just, like, photographing someone. And I said that to her. I said, when crimes happen and different things, sometimes you don't have, like, a photo of the person who committed the crime. Like, that would be so easy. That's your job to help, is to investigate these type of things. But, again, what am I supposed to do? Like, if I knew exactly who the person was, wouldn't I tell you? Oh, then how do you know it's, you know, Scientology ordered the person to do that? How do you know that Scientology, you know, it's not, how do you know the leader of the church did this sort of thing? And then it's the sort of thing where, you know, Scientology could order someone to do it, but it could be an OSA member, it could be a private investigator, it could be any number of people who could do it. But of course, they're not going to come for the church. They're going to go after that person, which makes sense. But they wouldn't even take the report. They wouldn't investigate. Right when I said Scientology, and I was a former Scientologist, they tuned out. They said, nope, you know, next person, essentially. And they just wrote it off like I was crazy. Now, besides those two instances, which are very public things, again, it makes me apprehensive making this type of video, knowing that if I am in danger one day, I'm on some list with the LAPD that I'm some crazy person, or I'm an ex-Scientologist, or, you know, they take some sort of win on it. And it's made me want to move out of Los Angeles before, but again, you know, I'm not going to let them win. But it's the type of thing where it's like my own safety and protection. It's like when you know that you call 911, it's like you're calling the Church of Scientology. And think of how scary that is, that they have that type of power over the LAPD. So every holiday, Scientology or Celebrity Center in Hollywood does a Christmas show. And their Christmas show, or their Christmas stories, you know, they make it as an event where you can come if you're just like an everyday person. If I'm a Scientologist, I would bring, say, my non-Scientologist friends, because it's a way to, like, what's the word? Normalize Scientology. And I know it's on the tip of my tongue of what I'm trying to say, but it almost, I guess, normalize, we'll just use it for now, normalizes the church. So when people come and they think, oh, it's a crazy, sinister cult, like, no, we're doing this like really cool Christmas show and Kirstie Alley's gonna play Santa Claus, and you say, yeah, great. So I'll bring my friends and say, look at how it's cool. It's not what people say, it's this alien criminal cult. Like, look at this great fundraiser that we had for the police and the Hollywood Police Division. And you think, like, yeah, that was actually really cool. Like, the normal person says, like, hey, you should take a course, like the self-improvement course. Now that you see, like, we're not these crazy alien worshippers, like, just give us a chance. And that's what they want to do. It's almost like protecting the name of Scientology to, like, the public. And they usually give, like, $20,000 to $40,000 checks. At the end, they're on stage holding the check from Scientology to the LAPD. So that happens, and it happens every year. And even back when I was in Scientology, there was Sheriff Lee Baca. Here you can see a photo of Sheriff Lee Baca on stage at Scientology Los Angeles, aka Big Blue, where he was on stage at their grand opening. And he was, again, notorious. He went to jail, and there's a lot of crazy stuff that happened with him, but we're not getting into all of his things. But he would always speak at Scientology events. He'd go on stage in the police uniforms. I know that they got in trouble, different dignitaries and other people, not just the police, but other people who would use their credentials or law sort of things. Or I just know that police have gotten in trouble, not specifically LAPD, but have gotten in trouble for wearing their uniforms or military or anything in Scientology publications being photographed, because then it's like, again, an endorsement from those different people. So they would get in trouble. But anyway, Sheriff Lee Baca would speak on stage and talk about the miracles of Scientology, essentially, in like closed groups, but in like the big public sort of Scientology seminars, or like the annual Celebrity Center Gala. Those sort of things are much more like the PR responses. But he'd be on course in the Celebrity Center and stuff. But again, they want to try to, on the face, be like, no, we're not, Scientologists or affiliated. But I know from when I was in that we knew as Scientologists, like, we have the protection of the police. And it's scary being on the other end now as an ex-member, knowing how powerful Scientology is with the police. So they would take checks very publicly, and this is, again, public when they would take those checks. So imagine what they do behind closed doors. So we're going to get into a couple stories that you guys may or may not have ever heard of, but first, again, another public story with Danny Masterson. Now, with Danny Masterson, that's, again, another video to do a whole thing on Danny Masterson. I just want to read to you a couple points where it was pointed out about with the LAPD, their lack of investigation on this matter. It's about a Me Too movement, and Leah Remini also weighed in, so we're going to read what Leah had to say as well. So let me just put this in for you guys, and then we're going to tell you my thoughts. Stories of misconduct are continuing to come out of the entertainment industries. Some of the latest stories are about Danny Masterson, who some people might remember as one of the main cast members on That 70s Show. For those who haven't heard them, 3 women have come out claiming that Masterson assaulted them in the 2000s, while a 4th woman had come out claiming that her. However, while inside sources in the LAPD report that there is overwhelming evidence that range from emails and audio tapes to a handwritten letter that support the claims, no charges have been approved at this point in time, which have caused a fair amount of confusion from a wide range of people. Why does Leah Remini think that the LAPD is covering for the Church of Scientology? Remini has stated that she thinks that the LAPD is making a deliberate decision to cover for Masterson because of the connections between its Hollywood division and the Church of Scientology. According to her, it is standard policy for the Church of Scientology to build connections with the local police departments for the purpose of insulating itself from its critics, which is supported by the fact that said organization has been making regular donations to the chapter of the Police Activities League associated with the Hollywood division. In her opinion, the church is using this established relationship to protect Masterson, which would be a horrendous injustice if true. So if you guys go back and remember what I said about my experience, how they try to make it seem like we don't have enough evidence, or they didn't even take the report. With this case, they have audio tapes, they have proof, they have overwhelming evidence, and the LAPD won't do anything to take a stand against Danny Masterson. So can you believe that? It really irritates me and aggravates me. And if we had a society where everything was equal and just, then I wouldn't have a problem, right? If I felt like they made Scientology a business, if police prosecuted Scientology when crimes happen, other things, yes, I would still want to be vocal and speak out, but it makes me even more irritated and aggravated when I know that there's things happening that our own LAPD police department, will not do anything to handle crimes. Yet, could you imagine if I went to a Sea Org member and I slapped them across the face? What would happen? My ass is in jail. If they did that to me, they'd be like, oh no, you put your face in front of his hand or something, right? So they'll find any way to protect the Scientologists. So I was on Mike Rinder's blog, and I found through some of his comments on a mention on an article that he did about LAPD, there was 3 different instances of different people speaking about how they were wronged by the LAPD when trying to bring justice against Scientology. So we're going to read through those and then we're going to weigh in. But some of these you guys may or may not have ever actually even heard about, because again, these were just comments on a blog, but again, they're from prominent people such as Phil and Willie Jones when they did their billboard, and I want to bring these stories to light, and I want you guys to hear what I have to say. So let's go and read some of these stories. LAPD has been in Scientology's pocket for years. When my long-gone ex-husband beat me to the point I was taken to the hospital via ambulance, the police came to the hospital about the same time the swarm of people came to make sure I kept my mouth shut. I was checked out without treatment and my ex was never prosecuted. I was not able to speak for myself as I was unconscious at the time, but the police respected my religious rights and looked the other way. I got in ethics trouble for causing a flap. My ex got a commendation for making it go right. Sunny from Mike Rinder's blog says, somewhere between 93 to 95, while I was a case supervisor at CC Int, the president's office, specifically Karen Hollander and Susan Watson, were in a heavy push to safeguard LAPD and the sheriff department at the time. They met with resistance until they finally found a potential way in. A close friend of LAPD, I believe he was also a police officer, had recently experienced a horrible loss. His wife shot herself in front of him and their 2-year-old child. They immediately jumped on this and offered free sessions for this person. The offer was accepted and Eunice Henley Smith delivered many free auditing sessions on this person. This person ended up having rave things to say about the sessions, and it opened up better communication between the president's office at CC and LAPD. I wish I could remember the name of this person, but it escapes me. That same year is when the Christmas Story started at CC, which has always been a fundraiser for Police Activities League. Phil Jones says, before we did the Call Me billboards, we did a few other things to try and reach our kids. One was the missing poster we did for our son Mike at Celebrity Center. The other was to go to the local LAPD branch to ask for a welfare check. When we were at the police station filing the report, we asked about possibly checking with California Protective Services and if they might be better to contact for a welfare report. This was the only time we brought this idea up, and we never did pursue it. Amazingly, when Scientology put up their hate page on us at their Stand League site, this item was included in their text. We only mentioned this idea once, and it was at the LAPD office, and we never filed a report or even contacted California Adult Protective Services at all. Someone in the LAPD had to have either been in contact with Scientology, or Scientology had someone planted in the LAPD. No other explanation. Does this make you guys as sick as it makes me? What kind of society are we living in that this can happen? I don't understand why there's not like another higher up or higher up from that person or someone who would put their own ethics in on the rest of the officers. Why are police officers nowadays corrupt or able to be bought off? I know maybe where I grew up, maybe it's different, it's a small town, whatever, but you know, even if the police officer is, say, friends with my husband, for example, and he had to arrest my husband, he still would. It wouldn't matter like the friendship sort of dynamic, if that makes sense. But in this case, we're dealing with a church, a criminal enterprise, I would much rather refer to it as, and they're somehow with religious protection able to protect, you know, with their religious protection they're protected, versus with NXIVM and Keith Rainier and Allison Mack and that whole other cult, which I never did a video about, which I should on my channel, and maybe interview someone from NXIVM. But I just think it's crazy that cult, right when they started having their own little like Sea Org type group, and once they started getting physical and starting to brand women like cattle and all these things, boom, you know, trial, and you know, there's all these different things happening. He's landing his ass in jail. Meanwhile, David Miscavige has people locked in a hole in the desert in California, but somehow, you know, if he buys, you know, the police $40,000, you know, writes them checks every once in a while, they have officers saying on camera, it doesn't matter what happens behind those gates. And this is our police. This isn't like a private security guard or something who's doing something. And the police have been called on me before with Scientology protesting and stuff. Besides just that protest, you know, I've had them called or responded to when I've been out. And you guys have seen my protesting videos. Check out my channel. There's been ones recently, as in the last couple months. Check out the one with Nasty Nathaniel. Check out a couple of my other ones. You'll see them late at night, like this close to me. Oh, you stepped in a centimeter on our property. We're going to call the police and say you trespass. Like all sorts of nutty things, when it's just like, I live here. It's a public street. I can walk up and down a public street if I want. Even when I'm not saying anything, they still follow me. So I know that there's more instances. I'm trying to think if there's anything more specific. Like I said, Chrissy Bixler with her dog was a big thing. Leah Remini obviously has brought up multiple times, even in Clearwater. Clearwater Police is another video. But with regard to the LAPD, I just know that, you know, when I was at Celebrity Center galas and other things, there were police present attending as guests. And I do know that they also probably feel that they don't want to lose their checks, their funding. They want to be in the good graces. They want to go to the fancy award dinners. They're offered courses, auditing, and just like you saw in that other post from Mike Renner's blog, they're offered auditing and sessions. And I just think that Scientology is a lot smarter than we may give them credit for. And that's not a praise. That's just saying that, you know, a lot of people, like I've said in a lot of videos, try to be like, how do you get sucked into that cult? And you're so dumb, just walk out the front door, whatever. They can manipulate, and the way that Scientology is so refined and so sophisticated where it's able to capture your mind. They have government officials, they have people doing all sorts of things to make sure Scientology is protected at all costs. Now, I think it's funny that Mark Bunker is running for Clearwater City Council or something like that, and he's obviously a critic of Scientology, trying to be on the Clearwater City Council as a not an ex-member, but as a critic. I just think that's really funny, so we'll see what actually happens with that, if he actually makes it or not. Clearwater is a whole nother beast, guys. I've been to Clearwater, and it is not a place you want to be as an ex-Scientologist, so I'm surprised someone like him just doesn't, I don't want to say let it go, but why he can stand living there. I guess you can say the same thing about me living in LA, but LA is much different than, it's Clearwater light, let's put it like that. It's like from 1 to 10, 10 out of 10 Clearwater is bought off by Scientology. But with LA, it's a little bit different, but it's still in Scientology's hands. But I don't know, guys. I'm nervous again to post this video, but I'm really curious to hear your thoughts down in the comment section down below. Do you guys have any personal instances with Scientology and LAPD, or just the LAPD in general, if they were corrupt? I'd love to hear what you guys say in the comment section down below. I'll be sure to tag this video, LAPD, Hollywood, everything, so other people know who also aren't Scientologists, to, you know, just bring awareness to this so you guys know. And this is not a joke. And I know that even with like Anger Gay Pope, even though some people like him, some people don't, he's had issues with the LAPD and restraining orders and different things while protesting. And I know that his thing is a little bit different, but that's, again, something maybe he can come on my channel and talk about. But please make sure to subscribe to my channel, guys. I'm going to be posting more daily videos about Scientology, exposing them. If you have more video ideas as well, guys, of some topic that you want me to address, I want to know down below in the comment section so I know what you guys want to see from me, what type of videos. If there's someone specific you want me to interview, let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll do my best to do that. Give this video a thumbs up, and yeah, leave a comment, subscribe, thumbs up. I think I said everything, guys. Enjoy your night. I will see you guys tomorrow with a new video. And thank you so much for watching, guys. Bye, guys.